I financed my father's miserable existence while he pretended to look for work, and then I gave my perfect brother a motorcycle and quit. You're a mistake. A spare child for emergencies. Be glad you're alive. A week later, he threw a party in honor of my brother's college graduation with the $10,000 my grandmother left me. I wasn't even invited. When I wrote him, he said, "It's our money now. Brother has a future. You don't. Stop pretending you're somebody." I said, "Delete my number." That night I did what they thought I didn't have the courage to do. Now they're in agony, Auntie crying in voiceovers, "Your father has a choice, brother is locked in the room. If you don't help us, we're lost." Alright, I don't normally post stuff like this. I don't even know if it belongs here. Maybe it's messy or maybe I'm just losing it, but I need to get this out. If you actually make it to the end, thanks I guess. If you want to roast me, I won't stop you. Maybe I deserve it. Maybe I don't. Anyway, here's where I'm at. My name's Alex. I'm 24, living in the Central Valley in California. I share a house with my dad Marco and my younger brother Thomas, who just turned 20. Our mom's not in the picture. She left the state with some guy when we were younger and kind of vanished. The occasional birthday text, maybe a Facebook comment, that's the extent of it. A year ago, my dad's mom, our grandma, passed away. She was old school, kept everything in paper, didn't trust online anything. Left behind a few things, including a $10,000 check meant for me. Not a life-changing amount, but not pocket change either. The thing is, the account was still under my dad's name and he insisted I wasn't ready to handle that kind of responsibility. So yeah, the money wasn't technically in my hands. Not yet. I've got a remote job, grinding freelance gigs and online contracts just to keep the lights on. Ever since the pandemic hit, my dad's been jobless. Says he's looking. Says he's trying. But the man hasn't worn anything but sweatpants in 2 years and spends half the day scrolling his phone like it's a full-time job. Thomas, on the other hand? Golden child. Always has been. He's the athlete, the charming one, the future. Decent grades, smooth talker, gets along with everybody. My dad basically treats him like a savior. Me? I'm tolerated. Sometimes. At first, the jabs were subtle. During dinner, my dad would drop stuff like, "Maybe you'll carry your weight this year," or "Thomas is going places, you could learn something." I brushed it off. He's always been like that. Passive-aggressive and weird about status. But lately, it's been more direct. One night I asked if he'd applied to any jobs that week, genuine question, not even sarcastic. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "You should respect the man who keeps this house running." I laughed. I pay the rent. I pay for Wi-Fi, groceries, power. But sure, he's running things. Then there's the money. Over the last couple months, my dad kept asking me for little bits here and there. I need gas money to get to an interview, parking's expensive downtown, there's a train fare for a job fair tomorrow. I'd send him $40, $50. He'd thank me and never leave the damn house. One day I came home from a grocery run, all paid for by me as usual, and he was right there on the couch watching YouTube shorts, telling me he had a solid lead on something. I asked how the interview went. He changed the subject. I started noticing leftovers in the fridge that were supposedly from when he was out looking. Same cup of coffee still sitting by the sink hours later. It became clear he wasn't going anywhere. I asked Thomas once if Dad was actually out job hunting or just faking it. He shrugged, said, "Not my problem." Cool, bro. Then came the first real punch in the gut. Remember that money Grandma left me? Like I said, the account was in Dad's name, but the check was clearly meant for me. He said he'd give it to me when he thought I was ready. I figured, fine. I'll wait. I've waited on him my whole life, what's a few more weeks? Then out of nowhere, Thomas starts showing me pictures of motorcycles online. He already had a beat-up old one, but suddenly he's obsessed with newer models. Fancy, expensive stuff. I didn't think much of it, just figured he was dreaming out loud like always. Until I came home one Friday and there it was, a brand new motorcycle sitting in our driveway shining like it just rolled out of a catalog. Thomas was out there with his friends, revving the engine, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. I asked him straight up, where the hell did that come from? He smirked and said, "Guess Dad came through." Inside, I found my dad in the kitchen acting like nothing had happened. I asked him if he really just dropped thousands of dollars on a bike. He didn't deny it. He said, and I quote, "Money's for people with potential. Thomas has a future." That's when I snapped. I reminded him that the money came from Grandma, that it was supposed to be mine. He laughed. Said I should be grateful he's not charging me back rent for all the years I lived in his house growing up. I slammed the fridge door. Not even sure why. I needed something to do with my hands or I was gonna throw something. Thomas walked in then, still riding that smug high, and said, "It wasn't your money. It's family money. Stop being salty." I told him to shut his mouth. He just smirked and walked away. I went outside to get air. I could feel my hands shaking. Across the street, some neighbors were standing in their driveway watching the whole thing unfold like it was some kind of show. Then my phone buzzed, group chat notifications. Turns out there was a party being planned. For Thomas. For getting accepted into some dream college. Backyard event. Music, lights, food, the works. And guess where it was happening? Our house. I wasn't even invited. Not one word to me. And yes, the whole thing was being funded with my money. My inheritance. I texted my dad from the driveway. I couldn't even bring myself to look him in the eye anymore. I wrote, "You spent grandma's money, didn't you?" He replied, "It's our money now. Your brother matters. You don't. Stop acting like a disappointment." Then, a minute later, he added, "You were a mistake. A spare kid we kept around. Be thankful we let you exist." I didn't move for 5 minutes. Just stood there, rereading those words over and over again, feeling something in my chest crack, not break. Crack. Quiet. Sharp. I texted back, "Lose my number." He left me on read. Next morning, I woke up to find all my stuff boxed up and sitting in the hallway. My clothes. My laptop. My books. Everything. Dad said they needed the room for guests. For the party. He told me I should find somewhere else to stay for a bit. I told him to get lost and reached for my boxes. He shoved me. I shoved him back. Thomas stood off to the side, watching it all like a live stream. No reaction. No defense. Just nothing. Like it was entertainment. That was the moment it finally clicked. I wasn't just ignored. I was disposable. And for the first time in my life, I realized they weren't going to stop. Unless I made them. To be continued. If you've read the first part, then you already know how bad things were getting. But honestly, that was nothing compared to what came next. I thought the bike situation, the stolen money, the texts from my dad were the low point. I was wrong. What came after, that week leading up to Thomas's big college party, made it painfully clear just how little I mattered to them. So after the fight, after my dad boxed up my stuff and told me to get lost for a few days, I moved down to the basement. The air down there smelled like old cat piss and mildew, and the blow-up mattress I had barely held air. But it had a door I could lock, and at that point, that counted for something. Saturday morning, I came upstairs groggy and sore, needing coffee like oxygen. First thing I noticed, my phone charger was gone. Not lost. Not misplaced. Straight up gone. I asked Thomas if he'd seen it. He was in the kitchen making eggs like he was auditioning for some Food Network gig. He didn't even look at me, just shook his head and said, "Why would I touch your stuff?" I didn't bother pressing it. What was the point? Dad's shoes were by the front door, so I knew he was home. Just hiding in the bathroom, which he'd been doing more and more. I wasn't surprised. Avoiding accountability was kind of his specialty. Then came the party prep. By noon, people started showing up. Aunts, cousins, neighbors, even Thomas's old soccer buddies. Everyone was all smiles, floating around the house like they were part of something great. I stayed out of the way, mostly in the basement, but every time I came upstairs for something, water, a charger, to grab toothpaste, it was like I was crashing someone else's holiday. Aunt Marissa cornered me in the hallway at one point. "Can I count on you to be chill today?" she said, like I was some ticking time bomb. "Today's about your brother, okay? Don't make it about you." I just stared at her. "Do you even know where the money for this party came from?" She gave me this look. Not shock, not guilt, just tiredness. "Your dad's doing his best, Alex. He's under a lot of pressure. Thomas has potential, and he needs our support." Support. That word hit harder than I expected. I'd been keeping this house afloat for over a year, paying bills, covering groceries, sending money I didn't have. But support apparently meant clapping for the golden child and keeping my mouth shut. Later, I overheard my cousin Riley laughing about how the only good thing to happen in our house in years was Thomas finally getting that bike. Then she added, "Oh, sorry, Alex. Forgot you were still here. Still here." Like I was some leftover decoration nobody had bothered to throw out yet. I pulled out my phone and scrolled up in our family group chat, the one I didn't even realize I was still in. Turns out, They'd been planning this party for over a week. Photos, food orders, decorations, a whole setup. They talked about it openly, like I didn't exist. Nobody had even thought to loop me in. Not one message. Not one heads up. I asked Dad about it when I caught him walking down the hall with a stack of plastic plates. I said, "You didn't think to tell me any of this?" He didn't stop, just shrugged and said, "It's not your scene. You bring the energy down." Right? I bring the energy down. I slammed the bathroom door so hard the frame rattled. I didn't even care if someone heard. Later that evening, I ended up talking to my cousin Luis, who's one of the few people in the family that still treats me like a human being. I asked him, straight up, "Did you know the money Grandma left was for me? Not Thomas." He looked uncomfortable, kept his voice low. "They talked about it at dinner a few weeks ago. Said Thomas needed it for school, and well, they said you probably wouldn't use it the right way." I didn't say anything. I just nodded. There was nothing left to say. They'd all decided I didn't deserve anything, and nobody thought I had the right to even know. I guess what really broke me wasn't even the money anymore. It was realizing that, to them, I'd already been written out of the story. Like I was just a character from season 1 they didn't feel the need to keep around anymore. Then I heard my dad in the backyard, talking to one of my uncles. Loud enough that he probably wanted me to hear. "I've finally got things under control," he said. "Alex is drifting. He'll either figure it out or he won't. Not, I hope he's okay. Not, he's trying. Just drifting." Thomas walked by at some point during the party, made eye contact and said, "You're not going to ruin this, right? Just stay out of the way." I didn't respond. I couldn't even look at him. I stepped outside to get some air. Needed space from the noise, the fakeness, the clinking drinks and hollow congratulations. That's when I saw my boxes again. The ones with my clothes, my gear, my life, shoved against the garage door like someone was trying to pretend I'd already moved out. I dragged them back inside. I didn't even care who saw. Dad spotted me. Told me I was being selfish. That this day was for Thomas and I was making it all about me. I told him, "You're just pissed I'm not playing along anymore." That's when he got in my face. Shoved me. Not hard, but enough. I shoved back harder. He looked surprised. Like he couldn't believe I had the nerve to push back. Like I was supposed to just keep eating it like always. He backed off, muttering something about respect before storming off and slamming his door. I realized in that moment that he didn't respect people who gave in. He respected people who pushed back even if he hated them for it. Thomas gets all the praise because he plays the game. Because he's the image my dad wanted for himself. Confident. Liked. Normal. Me? I'm the reminder that things didn't turn out the way he planned. Later that night, when things calmed down and the music finally stopped, I started going through my old texts, emails, bank statements. I looked at every Venmo request, every rent payment, every bill in my name. I realized just how deep this went. I'd been covering everything. Even Thomas's gym membership. Even my dad's Spotify account. And the whole time, they were telling me I wasn't contributing. I confronted Dad again the next morning. Told him I wanted my share of the inheritance. He scoffed, said I was lucky he even let me live there. Thomas laughed and said, "You're just jealous no one ever believed in you." That's when something flipped in me. I said, "You have no idea what's coming." He laughed again. Shrugged. Walked off to go show someone his shiny new bike. I messaged Aunt Marissa later that day. Asked if she really thought all of this was okay. She sent back a paragraph about how families are complicated and sacrifices are part of life. That my dad was doing what he thought was best for everyone. I replied, "I'm not a sacrifice." She didn't answer after that. So now I'm making a plan. I'm done being the extra. I'm done being the one they expect to stay quiet and foot the bill. I've got the receipts. I've got every transaction, every message, every bank transfer. They think I'm still playing my part, but I'm not in their script anymore. And I'm about to flip the whole story. I said I was done being the spare. I meant it. Sunday morning, the house was trashed. Beer bottles on the porch, pizza boxes on the kitchen counter, someone's hoodie draped over the stair railing. Strangers, friends of Thomas or friends of friends, were passed out on couches and lawn chairs like it was a frat house. I didn't even bother waking them. Not my problem. I went to grab my laptop. Needed to clear my head. Maybe make a list of bills I was still covering. but my headphones were gone. Like gone. I looked around and found some random dude in the laundry room scrolling TikTok on my phone. I didn't say a word. I just walked up, yanked it out of his hand, and stared at him until he left. No argument, no drama, just silence. And that's when it hit me. Nobody in this house respected me. Not even the guests. I went back to the basement and opened my laptop. Started digging. Electric bill? My name. Wi-Fi? My name. Water, trash, streaming services? All me. The lease? Just me. Turns out when we renewed it last year, the landlord only added me. My dad's credit was shot from a default years ago. He never qualified. So technically, they were living in my apartment. That was the moment something flipped in my brain. I wasn't just mad anymore. I wanted them to feel it. It wasn't enough to walk away. I'd done that before. Shut my mouth, let things slide. Waited for someone else to be the bigger person. Not this time. They wanted to treat me like I was a backup plan? Cool. Let's see what happens when the backup walks. First thing I did was call the landlord. Told her I was moving out and not renewing the lease. She asked if Marco or Thomas would be taking over. I told her flat out, no income, no credit. Good luck. She was irritated but said she'd send notice. I asked her to call my dad to confirm. She did about an hour later, and suddenly I hear him storming into the basement, yelling loud enough to shake the walls. You're screwing the family over. This is betrayal. You're acting like a damn stranger. I didn't even pause. Just said, you've been treating me like a stranger for years. I'm done funding people who can't stand me. He kept yelling, but I closed the door. Locked it. Let him scream on the other side. Next, I opened my bank app and printed everything. Every Venmo request, every Zelle transfer, every fake job hunt payment I sent Dad over the last year. Then I started going through trash cans upstairs. And yeah, I found it, the motorcycle receipt. Classic Thomas. Couldn't even throw away the evidence properly. The receipt had the account number from Grandma's estate printed right on it. Boom. Solid proof the money was misused. I took photos, scanned them to my drive, backed everything up twice. Then I got a little creative. Texted Aunt Marissa and said, just a heads up. Everything Dad did with Grandma's money is traceable. I've got proof. Didn't ask for advice. Didn't demand anything. Just planted the seed. For hours she didn't reply. Then my phone blew up with paragraph after paragraph. How I needed to think about the family. How some mistakes weren't worth ruining people over. How I was better than this. But where was all that energy when they were gutting my inheritance and acting like I didn't exist? I didn't reply. I called the bank next. Told them I was filing a dispute on the withdrawal from the estate account. Explained the check was intended for me, that I was never given access and I had documentation. They told me they'd investigate and might freeze the account temporarily while they looked into it. Good. Back home, I started unplugging every device tied to my name. Router? Gone. Into my backpack. Netflix? Logged out. Spotify, Hulu, HBO? Cancelled. Passwords changed. I didn't touch the lights or the fridge. I'm not heartless. But if they wanted me out of the way, they were gonna feel what that actually meant. That night I was in the garage boxing up clothes, books, gear. Thomas came in and leaned against the wall, smug as ever. So you're really leaving, huh? He said. Guess that means I get your room for good. I didn't answer, just stared. Then I asked, you got insurance on that bike? He blinked. Dad handled it. Sure about that? I said. He frowned but didn't say anything. Tried to shoulder past me. I blocked him. He pushed me lightly like testing waters. I shoved him back into the wall. He called me a loser. I called him a thief. He slapped at my shoulder. I pushed him harder. We didn't throw punches, but it was tense. Two brothers who finally realized they weren't on the same team anymore. My dad came running in when he heard the noise. Started yelling at me again, waving his arms like I was some criminal. I told him, if you've got a problem, call the cops. He stood there, fist clenched, jaw tight, but he didn't move. Next morning, I found an eviction notice taped to the door. Not from the landlord, just a formal 30 days, Letter saying the lease was ending. Dad was pacing the kitchen like a man on the edge, muttering about loyalty and broken families. I grabbed my evidence folder and walked out. That day, I hit the DMV and asked what happens when a vehicle is purchased with disputed funds, especially inheritance. They said it could be flagged during a title check if I had proof the money was misused. I gave them the paperwork. They took it seriously. Then I filled out an online complaint for financial abuse tied to a will. I don't know how far it'll go, but I wasn't letting this disappear quietly. By the time I got back home, I had 20 missed calls. My dad, Marissa, even Thomas, all ignored. The voicemail from my dad was wild. If you don't fix this, we lose the house. Thomas loses his future. You'll destroy this family. Yeah. Should have thought of that before turning me into the family ATM. Later that night, I checked the driveway. The bike was gone. Dad came into the basement like a wrecking ball, red in the face. What did you do? I looked at him and said, made a few calls. He tried to slap the folder from my hands. I grabbed his wrist and said, don't touch me. He stormed off again, slammed his door. Marissa spent all night blowing up my phone. You're being cruel. You don't understand family sacrifice. You'll regret this. I texted back once. You want to talk about sacrifice? Try being the family's doormat for 5 years. No reply. So yeah, now the house is falling apart. Dad's freaking out. Thomas is hiding in his room. The landlord wants them out. The bike is flagged. The bank account is frozen. And me? For once, I'm not sorry. They built this mess. I just stopped cleaning it up. I thought when everything fell apart, there'd be screaming. Accusations. Maybe some dramatic speech from my dad about how I ruined the family. But the first thing I noticed when I came back for my last few boxes was the silence. It was too quiet. No TV blaring some old sitcom rerun. No sports radio in the background. No Thomas blasting music from his room or my dad yelling from the kitchen about leftovers. Just this weird, still air and the low hum of the fridge. That's when I knew this time it hit them for real. I stepped into the house and the place was spotless. Like hospital-level clean. The kind of clean that only happens when someone's trying to erase the chaos. I went straight to what used to be my room, expecting to find Thomas fully moved in. Instead, there were half-unpacked boxes and a pile of clothes on the floor. The closet door was dented like someone had kicked it. I didn't see Thomas that day, but I could hear him upstairs. Moving around. Talking to nobody. His phone buzzed nonstop, like texts or missed calls he wasn't answering. Whatever. Not my business anymore. My phone was buzzing too. First it was Aunt Marissa. Voicemail. Her voice sounded cracked and shaky. Your dad collapsed. Paramedics had to come. He's at the hospital now. He keeps saying you broke the family. He wants to see you. Please come, Alex. Please. I played it twice. Not because I didn't believe it, I just needed to hear it again to feel anything. Second voicemail, her crying. Full-on sobbing. Thomas won't eat. He won't come out of his room. The landlord put up a second notice. We're losing everything. Please, just fix this. Please. And all I could think was, they didn't want me to be a person. They wanted me to be a patch. A wrench. A utility. Fix this. Fix that. Like I hadn't been doing that my entire adult life already. I kept packing. It wasn't coldness. It was clarity. I knew my dad. Knew him better than anyone. This wasn't a heart attack. It was guilt. Pressure. Control slipping out of his hands. He'd always been good at making messes. Better at watching other people clean them up. This time I let the mess sit. I found Grandma's photo album in the back of the closet. Dusty and water-warped in places. I almost left it, but then I thought no. If anyone deserved to hold on to her memory, it was me. She's the only one who ever really saw me. So I took it, tucked it gently into my duffel, zipped it up, and turned off the light. As I was heading for the door, Thomas finally came out of his room. He looked hollow, like the version of him that used to grin and show off had just withered into someone smaller. You really did it, huh? He said. You ruined everything. I didn't flinch. You did that yourself, I said. He stared at me, waiting for something, an apology, a breakdown, maybe a hug like in some movie ending. I just walked past him. He tried to shoulder check me on the way out. I didn't move. He bounced off me and slammed the bathroom door behind him. By the time I got outside, my phone was lighting up again. Another voicemail. Marissa. Sobbing again. Your dad won't talk to anyone. Your brother won't come out. The family's falling apart. You need to fix this. That word again. Fix. I stopped in the driveway and hit redial. She picked up immediately. Alex, thank God. I cut her off. I'm not your fixer. I'm not the family's ATM. I'm not your backup plan. If you all picked sides, you picked wrong. I hung up before she could say anything else. An hour later, I got a call from an unknown number. For some reason, I answered. It was my dad. Didn't start with, hey. No apology. Just launched straight into it. You happy now? You win, right? You get to feel like some big man. That what you wanted? I said nothing. Just listened. He kept going. You always were a mistake. A backup. A burden. Don't forget that. I finally spoke. I just wanted what was mine. Click. I hung up. He tried to call again. I blocked the number. I know he'll find another number. Or text from someone else's phone. But it won't matter. Not anymore. That night I crashed on a friend's couch. No Wi-Fi password yet. No hot water for the first 5 minutes. But still a better. Better than pretending to be part of a family that only wanted me around when it was convenient. Better than living in a house where love had terms and help had strings. Better than being the spare tire that everyone forgot existed until they got a flat. No, it's not a happy ending. I'm not in some dream apartment. I'm not living that look at me now glow up. I'm just free. Nobody's asking me for money. Nobody's calling me dramatic. Nobody's throwing my things in boxes to make room for a party I wasn't invited to. Just silence. Peaceful silence. They probably tell people I abandoned them. That I was selfish. That I snapped and turned on the family. Maybe I did. But they made the choice for me years ago when they decided Thomas was the only one worth building around and I was just insurance. They built their little world. All I did was finally walk out of it. Aunt Marissa still leaves me voicemails. Every couple of days. Your brother still won't come out of his room. Your dad hasn't eaten in days. You need to fix this. I swipe. Delete. Every time. I'm not going back. Not this time. No more backup. No more fixer. No more second place. If you've ever been the kid they only keep around for convenience, here's my advice. Don't wait as long as I did. Don't let guilt dress itself up as duty. Don't let silence be mistaken for peace. And if they tell you you ruined everything, remember. Maybe it needed to be ruined. Lose my number. For real this time.